Today's event, the sensitization program on the rights of persons with Disabilities Act 2016 and accessibility here at Moreau Institute of Integral Training, Dhankheti, Shillong. We on behalf of the Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities and the State Resource Centre on Disability Affairs welcome everyone here.
The objective of today's program is to create awareness and build capacity among key stakeholders, the heads of departments, financial institutions, faith-based organizations, NGOs and disability associations on the importance of inclusivity and accessibility in all spheres of public life, whether it's in infrastructure, service delivery, employment, education or digital access. We must ensure that persons with disabilities are not left behind. To help guide this understanding, we are honored to have with us of India's most distinguished voices in the disability rights space, Mr. Rahul Bajaj and Mr. Amar Jain, both of whom have not only excelled in the field of law but have actively led the national conversation on accessibility through their initiative, Mission Accessibility. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 marked a paradigm shift from charity to rights, from exclusion to empowerment. But laws must be lived, not just legislated. And for that, awareness is the key.
Having said this, we state have 49,000 identified persons with disability, and our aim was actually to provide that equal opportunities for everybody. So this is one very important thing. As far as RPWD Act, in fact, I also wanted to tell Mr. Rahul Bajaj, who actually has been asking whether how the state has been doing in terms of implementation of this RPWD Act. I was told, in fact, 29 departments have been already laid out equal opportunity policy in their organizations. That means like they are taking the care for the persons with disability, within their organizations. And we also have done about 75% of our 49,000 persons with disability have been given this DID, we call DID, unique disability ID. So this is also a very good progress that has been made, and I'm very happy that state of Meghalaya, we have been are able to think through this and trying to make an effort, but still there's a lot to learn, lot to do. So we'll definitely these meetings are essentially to learn more from all of you during these detailed discussions, and also to get better and better in our strategies to do things better.
But what really comes to your mind when you hear the word disability? And please feel free to be candid, open, interactive, and as communicative as you can be, so that Bridget ma'am knows that I've done my job well.
Bodily impairment.
Okay, impairment. Fair enough. Next. Barriers. Okay. Can't perform. Okay. Limitation. Very good. All right. So we have ample that we can draw on from to take it forward. So when I write emotional emails to companies to say that they need to make their assets accessible, I say that I'm born with a disability that cannot be cured medically, naturally, and supernaturally. Right? These are the three typical things that we try, right? When a person with a disability is born in a family, these are the three typical things that we try. We go to a doctor, we go to natural therapies like be it Ayurveda, be it homeopathy, be it yoga, things like that. And then we go to supernatural divine powers, sometimes saints, and so many other forms of religion, and so on and so forth. The fact is that this cannot be cured. So I always say that there's only one can't in a life of a person with disability, and that can't is that you can't cure the disability. In all other forms of life, it is really whether you want to do or you don't want to do. And we'll see how. So when a disability happens, there are really 4 broad categorizations. So disabilities in a broad sense, when you look at the definition of person with a disability, has 4 broad categories. These are physical impairment, right? Then you have intellectual disability, right? Then you have mental illness, and then you have sensory disabilities. What in your view is accessibility? What do you understand by the term accessibility? It's a very simple term, no rocket science.
Look at our potential.
Break the term accessibility.
Ability to access.
Fantastic. Ability to access. Right? Accessibility is really that with whatever abilities I have, I should be able to access the product, service, or an environment. Does that hold true for everybody? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Theoretically, yes. Okay. I like that caveat. Lawyers always like those caveats. Alright. Let's look at a couple of examples. How is the result of a pregnancy test conveyed when somebody uses a pregnancy test kit? It's a very sensitive topic, but it will throw light on accessibility. Color change, okay? Two lines, so basically lines being shown visually, right? So the point is that the testing tool basically shows a color change as well as lines to indicate whether it is positive or negative. Now let's use 5 senses. You certainly can't taste it, can't smell it, so 2 are out. Can you see it? Yes. Can you hear it? Yes. How? How would you hear lines? I repeat my question. Can we hear 2 lines and the color? Now audience is awake. Initially, like whatever he says, okay, let's just say yes. Okay. So here the test kit makers thought that visual is the only sense that everybody will be able to use. Let's make a kit which visually conveys this information. Right? Violation of accessibility? Because we did not cater to those disabilities or those people who may rely on sense of touching and sense of hearing. Since you have learned accessibility, what in your view could be the measure that the manufacturer of that kit could have taken to make it accessible? So lines can be embossed, which means essentially what we are trying to say, that the result can be conveyed through tactile means. It could also be conveyed through auditory senses, a beep to indicate positive, a beep to indicate negative. When the pulse rate and the heart rates are ongoing, in the ICUs and in the hospitals you hear those sounds, ta, 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 ta. Suddenly it becomes faster when the heart rate is faster. Ta, 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 ta. And then suddenly, ta. Then the doctor comes, we are so sorry. Typical serial drama. So, with this understanding, let's move to each disability type and let's try to understand which assistive technology is used by which type of disability? People with blindness and people with low vision. I don't think I need to explain this. You have seen both of us since morning. And you'd be like, enough of seeing you, when are you going back now? Alright. People with blindness, meaning absolutely no visual acuity. I don't want to call it no vision. I do have vision, I don't have visual acuity. Right? So no visual acuity, people with blindness. So sense of seeing is out. Which all senses can I use? Hearing, touch, smell, taste. Right? So what technologies people with blindness use and low vision use? Screen readers. Right? Screen reader is a software that reads out what gets displayed on the screen. That's the simplest explanation of what a screen reader does. So examine, imagine it like a replacement to the human form of a technology, which is then sitting on your computer, interacting with the app or the website, and then trying to read out whatever it understands basis the source code available. What that means, if a picture is taken and posted on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., will my software be able to read it? Yes, can you be louder?
Only the text, not the picture.
Only the text, not the picture. Does that mean that the picture can't be made accessible? It can, right? And the simplest solution is give a meaningful text to the picture, right? There is also a concept of refreshable braille displays. So as we said that people with blindness and deaf blindness can also use sense of touch. So you can use braille displays, refreshable braille displays. So on your laptop keyboard or normal desktop keyboard, you would have seen there's a dot on F and G. Have you noticed?
Yes.
On the old landline phones, I wish those were back. So that if you didn't want to take a call, you could simply ask somebody to pick up the phone and say, hey, this person is not available, please call later. There's a dot on dot number 5, right? That is a tactile form converted into braille script. Some of you would have also read about a person called Louis Braille in your childhood, right? Then what happens is, and especially true to government departments, is that you get printed letters. And to make it more interesting, sometimes even there are handwritten instructions on it. So how does one read it in the context of technology? You scan it, right? What you get after scanning is just an image. So what you do OCR, optical character recognition. Simply saying what it does is it extracts text from the image and gives you a readable text. Right? So even the printed material becomes accessible for you to a good extent, provided that the quality of the scan is good. Right? Then smart glasses. How many of you are aware about the Meta glasses that were recently launched? Ray-Ban Meta glasses. So smart glasses is nothing but just an eyewear with some technology in it, which would allow you to record audio, video, which would allow you to take good pictures, allow you to use AI on the smart glasses. And then, so for example, if I and Rahul walk into a meeting and somebody gives us minutes of the meeting, we can simply take a picture using those smart glasses and we can run some AI magic on it and we will start reading it. So hearing impairment, slide 6. Which sense is out here? Hearing. Now, for people who are not deaf blind, necessarily they may not be used to of understanding things by touch. So they will essentially see things. So what you need? Captions. How many of you have seen the serials or the movies with subtitles?
Yes.
Most of you, if not all, right? What is the difference between caption and subtitle?
Titles is continuous.
Okay?
Caption is a statement.
Caption is a
Statement.
statement. Okay? See, understand this. It's no rocket science. Right? The person is not able to hear the person who wants captions, right? So what is the person missing out on? If let's say there's a dialogue, there's a speech going on by somebody and a very good point is made, what would be an instant reaction of the audience? Clap. Does a person with hearing impairment able to hear the clap sound? No. So that will be conveyed in caption. So caption is basically what it does is in addition to subtitle basically conveys your sentence. That so and so spoke so and so, right? The captions would say about background sounds. Then the other difficulty that one may face is that how do you identify the speaker? So the caption will say, if there are multiple speakers, then the caption will say, Amar says whatever I say. Rahul says whatever he says, right? So speaker identification. So that's what differentiates captions and subtitle. Captions are little more than subtitles in a way that it conveys the background, the background sounds, the speaker names, anything that the person, bottom line of it is, anything that the person with hearing impairment is not able to grasp due to the hearing impairment will be conveyed in captions. Right? Then you have hearing aids essentially amplifying the sound for people who are hard of hearing. So deafness is profound loss of hearing where you are not able to hear at all, and hard of hearing is where there is residual hearing left. Cochlear implants, again, so it bypasses your brain and it basically provides sound that you can convey through that you can understand through the residual hearing that you're left with. Visual alert systems. This is a key takeaway that we should all go with from here. What happens when a fire drill happens? What is the indicator? Or if there is a fire, actual fire in the building, what is the indicator? Alarm, right? So it's ringing, or it's buzzing completely, right? If a person with hearing impairment is there, how would he or she understand that the alarm is buzzing? How would you make it accessible now? Lights. Fantastic, you are all champions. Right? So this I gave you an example of a situation like fire. Now apply this in your real life. Where do you think you should apply this concept of lights in your home? Fantastic. That's the one most annoying thing which people come and keep pressing till you don't open the door. Basically forgetting that the person needs to walk out to the door to be able to open it, and the person can't come flying. Right? So I have a sticker pasted outside my door. Please wait, the person will have to come walking, can't fly. Locomotor disability. Essentially, what is the problem that the person with locomotor disability is trying to overcome? Ability to move. It could be moving your lower body part, could be moving your upper body part, could be using things that require harder muscle control, right? Okay. Apply the same concept. If a person is not able to move his lower and upper body parts, say up till chest, how would he or she use computer, electronic gadgets? Or even move, let's say on a wheelchair and give command to the wheelchair? What body part can he use? So then, there are devices that would allow you to control your wheelchair, your computer, your TV. Have you heard of gesture-based television? Samsung has introduced a gesture-controlled television. So you don't need to do anything with the remote. I don't know how will it work in a real life when two spouses are fighting. I don't want to see this and I don't want to see that. So I don't know how will it work. But they basically say that you don't need to use the remote. You can simply nod your eyes and you can simply nod your head and it will do the magic. So what is the smartness about the wheelchairs here? They are able to operate with the body portion that they are able to use. Prosthetics is basically an extension of footwear. Exoskeleton is that's another assistive technology. Adaptive input devices. So let's say my hand control is difficult or I don't have too many fingers. Right? So what do I need? If I need to hold a spoon and the normal spoon, so-called normal spoon does not work for me, I can do some adjustments in my spoon, make it a little more higher, broader, some tactile, some harder grip, stronger grip to hold, right? So for example, kitchen accessories, other accessory tools, etc. with some modifications and adaptations that people are able to use. Intellectual and developmental disability. Tell me one thing, is there a difference between intellectual disability and a mental illness?
Yes.
What is the difference? Reasoning, okay. So are people with intellectual disabilities able to reason well? What makes it intellectual disability? The speed of reasoning, right? In some cases, they may have slower processing power, right? Autism, learning disability, Down syndrome are some of the examples. So, when you are slow in thinking capacity, what is the challenge that you face? You are not able to communicate effectively. Going back to Rahul's example, Tare Zameen Par, right? Communication becomes a challenge. So how do you then communicate? Some people are able to associate words with pictures. So if I want to know what is the PAN card number that belongs to me, instead of you asking me, hey, please tell me your permanent account number issued by Income Tax Department, Government, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, instead of giving me that long phrase, you can simply point out a picture of a PAN card and ask me what is your PAN number. Slide 9 is speech and language disorder, right? Yes. So, in childhood we used to make fun of people who were not able to speak clearly. And people thought that because you are not able to speak clearly, you will not be able to function effectively. But that's not true. There are speech generating devices and softwares which would understand the speech which is not clear and basis a sample of your voice will be able to generate speech. Right? Slide 10 is essentially mental illness. You have bipolar, then you have schizophrenia, and then you have depression and some such other mental illness, form of mental illnesses. Here what you really need essentially something that calms you down or something that allows you to manage your mood, right? So there are apps to do that. For example, there are meditative apps, there are mood tracking apps which would allow you to manage your mood, etc. So the law is very clear in India since 2016. Every service provider has to design keeping accessibility in mind, whether government or private. That's the law, right? Now there are different standards for different angles. So for built environment, there is harmonized guidelines on built environment. For information communication technology, there is guidelines for Indian government websites and Indian standard 17802, which is Bureau of Indian Standards standard, which are all based on the global standards mostly. For media, there is broadcasting, the guidelines by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to make films accessible. So the media becomes accessible to persons with disabilities by including audio description, captions and sign language for people with disabilities. You have standards for finances. Banks have to comply with Ministry of Finance banking standards on accessibility, 2nd February 2024. Recently in Supreme Court on 30th of April, by view of a judgment in the matter of Pragya Prasoon versus Union of India and myself versus Union of India, basically said that right to digital access is part of fundamental rights framework, which means right to digital access is part of equality, is part of right to life with dignity, live life with dignity. I really wanted to now ask you one question. Do you now think that making something accessible is difficult?
No.
No. Okay, why do you say so?
Because various technologies are available.
Fantastic. So actually speaking, accessibility is not difficult. The most difficult part that we need to really solve for is thinking with mindfulness. The first point is we stop thinking mindfully when we design something, which is why we end up creating inaccessible solutions. The second point, when we think of accessibility, we think in a limited way. So we think, oh, blind guy or a girl means speech. Let's make it speech enabled. Blind person means braille. Let's make it braille enabled. We forget the fact that some people may not know braille, and there is growing audience nowadays which does not know braille. So what we forget to design inclusively, and how accessibility benefits not just people with disabilities, people without disabilities. Let's just take a couple of examples. Audio in the lift, who do you think it benefits? Why everyone? All can hear, okay. The point is, we all can, majority of us can see the display board, so why do you need to hear? Imagine a common scenario, 3 people standing together, talking about, let's say, that fruit wine which is very famous here, talking about it and saying, oh, this is a very good dish of Shillong, and suddenly the lift comes and we walk in. Hey, lift us up, let's walk in. And suddenly we realize, we don't see the display board obviously, and that audio announcement comes, going down. And oh, it's going down, let's get out please. Happen? Relate to it? Okay. So, while it is true that accessibility is most needed for people with disabilities, but it is equally true that it benefits everybody. Trolleys in the mall, strollers, escalators. I can name n number of examples that actually have become part of our day-to-day life, which were initially created as accessibility solutions. So accessibility is not just for people with disability, it benefits everybody. Right? So what are some concrete steps that we can take? If you are creating any digital asset from today onwards, whether it is a social media post, whether it is a Word document, a PDF, a PowerPoint presentation, always go to your actual software, the document creation tool, and look for an option called accessibility checker. Please do an accessibility check by the accessibility checker that is being provided there, and correct errors if any. Include image description with every image. That does not impact your user interface, but people with visual impairment will be able to read that on text. When we are creating a video and displaying a logo or displaying a beautiful picture or a hill station or a scenery, remember to describe it. We also love the descriptions. It's not that we don't. When you are creating an audio material, remember to have either text transcripts or captions, or at best, if you have possibility to do this, do sign language interpretation for making it accessible to people who are speech and hearing impaired or deaf or hard of hearing rather. So accessibility is not costly if you start accessible right from the time when you conceptualize something. So the point is, if we have the right attitude, if we want to take people along, if there is only one takeaway that I want you to take back from here, is to never say, this can't be done.
The first important aspect here which I would like to point out is what is the constitutional position. And the constitutional text as originally framed, there is Article 41 which I will read out to you. It says, right to work, to education and to public assistance in certain cases. And I am just reading out the text to you. The state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity and development, make effective provision for securing the right to work, to education and to public assistance in cases of unemployment or old age, sickness and disablement. This is where disability comes in, and in other cases of undeserved want. So here we see a recognition that yes, we need to as a society cater to the needs of persons with disabilities, but this is still rooted in a very charity and welfare oriented approach where we are clubbing disability with sickness, with unemployment, with cases of undeserved want, meaning that where somebody cannot be held to have created the circumstances for their deprivation.
So, sir, I would like to inform Sir Rahul and Sir Amar Jain and all the other participants as well. From the Office of the Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, we have taken the initiative to, to implement the accessibility in inbuilt infrastructure, websites, and even accessible transportation. So they have identified buildings, 24 buildings under accessible in their campaign. Phase 1, these buildings have been made accessible to persons with disabilities, and 17 buildings under the scheme of implementation of Persons with Disabilities Act, SIPDA, we had identified 17 buildings, and these buildings have been done first with their access audit. We took the help of the CBM Intertrust from Bangalore in the year 2016, and Wedding Society later with the state government has notified this NGO as their empaneled agency to conduct access audit in buildings. And in websites, we have 34 websites done by Earnet India and 50 websites by NIC under SIPDA. So with the help of this Association of People with Disabilities, along with NGOs working for the welfare of people with disabilities. I think, sir, that thank you to you, thank you to sir, because these things I need to inform, because at least from the state of Meghalaya, we have taken up the initiative to make buildings accessible, to make websites accessible, even accessible in transportation.
I think you're really transforming Honorable Prime Minister's mantra, minimum government, maximum governance. Really. So it's a true example of proactive leadership.